You are now tuned in to the newest Bills Mafia production, FamBase Sports. Join Jarek Hall and Kari Demos as they take you around the world of sports every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on the official network of the original Bills Mafia.
Welcome back to Buffalo FamBase Sports. My name is Jarek Hall with my co-host Kari Demos, and we are back here again with another episode of FamBase Sports. So, yeah, guys, we apologize for being a little bit late. I take responsibility for my end a little bit there, but we're going to get the ball rolling. A little bit of a short show, but we're going to try to get as much stuff to unpack because there are some things that we want to try to recap over the past weekend of sports. So, like I said, guys, if you guys want the latest on sports intel besides Bills talk, sports intel. You guys definitely want to subscribe to Buffalo FamBase Sports. If you guys are coming from the Twitter world, Facebook world, or whatever social media you want to use, or podcast app you want to that you guys are tuning in to watch us, we gradually appreciate it. I mean, we can't explain it enough. We're growing little by little, and not just again, it doesn't really help us that much out, but as far as the other content creators, it helps them out as well. And speaking of other content creators, before we kind of get into our show a little bit. Big plans already. I talked about it last week. We had big plans, and for the most part, it was the top 100 for Bills players, and a lot of really good content, a lot of really good thought that all of us that were, all of us for the most part were involved in. So, for the most part, Buffalo FamBase has been great to us, and we can't really appreciate it enough. And like I said, I can't wait to see more of that list because it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. But now we're going to hop straight into this thing. First thing we want to talk about is Arch Manning because he is I have never seen a high school recruit get this much love, get this much attention. We had Trevor Lawrence, we had Justin Fields in the past. I remember back when I was like really little, when Vince Young announced that he was going to go to Texas back in 2003, I was 5 years old at the time. For the most part, when Colt McCoy announced his commitment, Barkley from Modern Day when he did his, but nothing like this. This is tracked all over all of the sports, the famous, sports media outlets out there. And it's a big one for Texas. So, Kyrie, talk to me about Arch Manning because, as far as his NIL projection, it's through the roof right now. It could break many records. So what did you think about Arch Manning committing to the University of Texas? And how do you think that's kind of, in a way, going to impact recruiting?
For sure. Yeah. First off, I really just, shout out to Arch Manning on the commitment. What a talented player. I mean, it's crazy. Like, it reminds me very much so of when Zion Williamson committed to Duke, where, we've seen this kid grow up. We've seen this kid, as a freshman in high school, dominating the high school ranks. And to see him make a commitment to, first of all, I'm excited, as a fan of college football, first and foremost, to see him go to a true traditional blue blood program, but he's going to one that hasn't been on top in some time. Obviously the Sam Ellinger days, Texas, seem to be creeping back towards relevancy, but, they've never really been able to get back over the top. So I think that's one thing, he's a big enough, talented enough player in recruit where he can, draw other big name guys in. I just saw they had a 5-star safety commit yesterday as well. So, he's going to be able to, help bring some guys along. I know one of his high school receivers is also going there as well. So it's a big deal, like you mentioned as well, though. I think really it's a huge deal. No pun intended, because of the NIL deals that he's going to get. Arch Manning, the Manning name is synonymous with the game of football. We know that. But I think, we really, truly are going to be able to see now in real time, what it looks like to have, a true, legit, blue chip, 5-star, can't miss prospect, go in, knowing, hey, I'm going to command 7, maybe 8 figures, just in NIL deals alone. That's not including some of the things that he'll be able to earn in terms of selling jerseys there and merchandise and things of that nature at UT. So I just think it's a huge move for college football. College football has gone through a crazy, crazy year, to say the least. But I'm excited to see, and that's the thing, Arch Manning's not even going to be a college football player until 2023. So, this is a little bit of ways away, but it's great to be able to see him go to a school like Texas. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But I also really want to see how the situation plays out, because you talk about, some of those big names that, you can remember committing, coming out of high school. Another big name actually went there to Texas as well, with Quinn Ewers, arguably, the best quarterback prospect before Arch Manning. So it'll be interesting to see, they'll have an overlap season in 2023, which would be Quinn's first year that he could play and know that, hey, I can leave to go to the draft after this. So it'll be interesting to see. So, Jarek, what are your thoughts on Arch's commitment?
Absolutely, man. Before we get into that, man, shout out to Tommy from Mafia Sports Report. He's another, for the most, he's another huge content creator for Buffalo FamBase Sports, man. He's talk a little stuff about the U, talk a little stuff about the U. I'm going on top of Bama. I do like you with Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke is a legit quarterback that can end up being a first round pick. Mm-hmm. So shout out to those Canes out there, but. Man, I felt like this was extremely huge for the U. I mean, not for the U. See, Tommy got me talking. I felt like this was extremely huge for the University of Texas, not because Texas, they are a blue blood program, right? They've had one of the most successful programs, as not just in football, but in terms of all the sports. Right? Austin, it's a beautiful. If anyone has ever been down there, I mean, it's a beautiful campus, huge, absolutely beautiful down there. But these guys have had a rich tradition of just producing great NFL football players over the last 100 years. And for the most part, the last 12 years, unfortunately, has just been a downside. I mean, the Texas has been a meme. I mean, they've simply just been a meme with the whole we're back situation. But for the most part, they needed a blue chip prospect. They needed somebody that can help change, that can help swing the momentum of the program. And that's maybe what Arch Manning does. And right, they got another 5-star safety in Derek Williams as soon as Arch Manning made his commitment. So again, it's not just the player in Arch Manning committing there; it's the potential of him bringing other players to that list, because he's the top player. He's established the most relationships out of all the players there. And granted, 2023 is stacked with quarterbacks. I mean, you look at Nico, you look at Malachi Nelson. I mean, this is a stacked class. I mean, Alabama has Eli Holston, who I think will end up being a 5-star. But I mean, Arch Manning, as far as his recruiting ranking, I mean, he has a 1,000 score. For those who don't really follow the recruiting that much, a 1,000 score, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, which combines Rivals, ESPN, and Top 24/7, they combine all of their scores into one. So Arch Manning had a 1,000 score. I mean, only 3 other quarterbacks have had that, and that was Vince Young, Quinn Ewers, and Arch Manning. And Quinn Ewers is there. Quinn Ewers at the University of Texas. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely insane. But I got to give a lot of credit to Steve Sarkisian, because Steve Sarkisian is the biggest reason why he's there right now. I mean, the Manning family, they have pretty much stated publicly that, if there's any, quarterback coach that they believe can help send their son to the next level, it's going to be Steve Sarkisian. And when you look at Steve Sarkisian's track record from the USC days, from when he was from what he was coaching in his early years, when he was coaching at Washington, right, when he had Jake Locker there for a little bit. From when he was in USC, when he had a little success with Barkley, and Darnold was there during those days, and then when he was at Alabama, when he helped literally turn Mac Jones from being the worst quarterback on the roster, and literally in less than 2 weeks, all of a sudden became the superstar quarterback. Yes, lost to Auburn, but still became a superstar quarterback in less than 2 weeks. I have never seen a transformation ever like that in sports, where a quarterback went from being the worst to automatically being one of the best by the end of the year. And despite this was after Tua's injury, so he barely had any time. So that's the coach that the Manning family has promised their son to be with. And Quinn Ewers, it's a big reason why he's at the University of Texas, right? It's absolutely incredible. So it's a big up. It's a big win for Steve Sarkisian. It's a big win for the Texas program, because now you're starting to see more of these recruits really start to kind of take form. And just overall wise, I think if you're a Texas fan, you got to be extremely excited. Now, I guess the bad news could be for Texas is that if what happens if they don't perform well? What happens if Quinn Ewers doesn't really develop like they kind of expected to? Because Texas has, Xavier Worthy, Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson with Keelan Robinson there. You look at I'm trying to think of it. Jatavion Sanders, 5-star recruit for tight end. Jaleel Billingsley from transfer from Alabama, talented tight end. IG Hall, all those guys. Texas might just have one of the best skill position groups all across the country. And the fact, and if Quinn Ewers if you can't develop him there, right, with an improved offensive line, with all those skill position players, and he's getting little development, again, 1,000 perfect score, little development, maybe that might back off Arch Manning. Maybe that might back off the family and saying, maybe this is not the right place for me. So I don't think Texas is out the woodworks yet, because for the most part, you got to wait till December, or he might not even sign until the late period, which is in February. That's the original signing period, which is in February. So we still got a long process to go. But overall wise, I am excited for Texas. And honestly, I think that, again, all this stuff with NIL creates diversity, which is this is what college football has always wanted. This is why the college football playoff system was introduced. This is why, the past system was introduced. They wanted to try to create diversity instead of the same 4 to 5 teams competing for a national championship. We look into this year when it comes to projections. Who's going to be in the top 4? Who's favorite according to Vegas? Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Clemson. It's every year. So NIL, all these systems are starting to kind of form into place, and I couldn't be more happy for Texas about it.
For sure. Before we move forward on this, the one thing I wanted to note too is, like, it's very unique in times where you realize, like, man, this is a historic moment. Like, Arch Manning going to Texas is a historic thing. There will be case studies about, his recruitment process, his NIL deals, his career, obviously. They'll be doing case studies on those decades from now. So it's cool to be able to see that in real time. And I just can't wait to see how it all plays out for him. And especially as UT enters SEC country for 2023.
Oh, yeah. And he'll be a junior. By the time he's a junior. So by the time he gets to that level, that's when they'll be in the SEC. And when we talk about, just real quick, the NIL value, he's third. He hasn't stepped on anything. He's right. His NIL value is $1.6 million before even stepping on a field.
Right.
So imagine when all of a sudden you go to the SEC and all these other NIL deals come into play. It's gonna be monster. It's gonna
be unbelievable. I'm excited for it though. Arch Manning's an unbelievable player. He really is. So that's the thing I think people need to understand first and foremost. He's a phenomenal talent. But when you have the family that he does, when you go to a program like UT with that much history, combined with the NIL factor, the sky really is the limit for, the type of revenue and just buzz overall that he'll be able to bring to the game.
Yeah. And Brian, in truth, I'm not saying that, because I don't even think Archie Manning got really, he got heavily influenced by the whole NIL thing. But his NIL value, according to one.com, which is a really reliable source that's been following NIL for about the last couple of years now, his value is 1.6 million, which is third out of all the people, whether they're paid or not. I mean, they're just kind of basing the value there. He's third. So imagine when he's actually on campus. And all of a sudden, he does get these sponsorship deals. DJ Uyunglele had a Dr. Pepper sponsorship deal already, and he was major on news because they projected that he was going to be a star. Right. Hasn't worked out, but for Arch Manning, when he gets on campus, every single, Nike, Under Armour, you're going to be seeing nothing but major corporations in line to try to get that kid to sign for them. He is going to make a lot of money before stepping into the NFL.
Yeah, and you said it too. I didn't even think about it. UT is a Nike school. So, at that point, he's going to, and is one of their, like, flagship schools, 100%. So, man, like we said, the sky really is the limit. Like I said, the case study on his NIL deals, valuation, just the type of revenue he's going to generate, and we're assuming 3 years on campus. Man, it's going to be
insane.
It's going to be interesting. Let the money rain down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. So I guess we can move on with the next topic real quick. We can focus on Terry McLaurin because he set the market again. We keep talking about this, man, that, again, these players continue to reset the market over and over again. And we got to give, again, a lot of credit has to go to our own Brandon Beane for getting these deals done sooner or later, because you don't want to keep holding on these contracts because of that, because all of a sudden the market resets. And now you're putting yourself in a tighter jam, trying to pay all these players so you can try to continue to having on a Super Bowl roster. So, again, Kyrie, I'll let you kind of take it over with Terry McLaurin about his deal and just kind of how this kind of impacts the NFL from now on.
Yeah, first and foremost, again, talking similarly to Arch Manning, where it's about a player's talent. There's no question Terry McLaurin is one of the most underrated receivers in football. He's just been playing for one of the one of the dumpster fire franchises, not just in the NFL but in all of sports. The guy's had over 1,000 yards receiving each of the last 2 seasons, and his touchdown numbers aren't significant, but he's really a guy that, he's a field stretcher. He can play in the slot, you can play him out wide. Very reliable hands. He's one of those guys that plays a little bit bigger than his size. He's probably around 6 foot or so, but he's a guy that can go up and get it. Just to do it all receiver, and a guy that whether it's going to be Carson Wentz this coming fall, Taylor Heineke the past couple of years, unfortunately Fitz only being able to play a series with him. He makes quarterbacks better. So, there's no question he deserved this money. It's just unbelievable to think that, so now, Terry McLaurin, his contract is, he's going to be making $23.3 million on average per season. So he's slotted just behind Stephon Diggs, just behind A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, and Tyreek Hill. So 7th overall. So I think it's a pretty fair value for him. He's in the mix. He's right in the midst with those players, right above DJ Moore, right above Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, just above Chris Godwin. And those names are actually pretty significant when you think about it, because those guys are playing next to other big name receivers. So they could have commanded even more if they were on their own teams. But again, I think all situations matter. But this 2 things on this, and I'll pass it off to you, Jarek. First and foremost, we've got to go back to the Christian Kirk deal. The fact that Christian Kirk is making $18 million per season. Again, good player, had a solid season last year. One of the better slots in the game. He's a little bit of a do-it-all, can play a little bit outside, but really, really thrives in the slot. Him getting the deal that he did is impacting these wide receivers clearly. The market has just been booming this offseason. But then also, too, again, this is why Deebo Samuels has been pounding the table to get paid. Because, again, Terry McLaurin, phenomenal player, Pro Bowl level receiver. He's done his thing even with subpar quarterback play. But Deebo Samuel, doing what he's done as a receiver, helping a team get to 2 NFC title games in the last 3 years, a Super Bowl, what he was doing as a running back as well last year. Like, his value is so high and is immeasurable. So the fact that he's been trying to, command a big deal, it makes sense. So again, I just hope that people understand this is why guys like Deebo Samuel, guys like A.J. Brown, who eventually got paid going over to Philly, guys like Stephon Diggs, he didn't say anything about it, but his production spoke for itself, and Brandon Beane was able to take care of him because of that. So again, Jarek, your thoughts on this massive deal for Terry McLaurin, but very, very well deserved.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So like Terry McLaurin, for the most part, again, you just said it best. He's a really, really good receiver. Ever since he's been to the league, for the most part, I think the worst season he ever had was missing out barely on 1,000 yards. I think that was like the worst season he ever had, and that was his rookie season. But Terry McLaurin has been absolute, it's been phenomenal. And not to mention that he's been in a bad situation in Washington where he's just had to change constant quarterbacks over and over again. Last year, he played with a backup quarterback. Taylor Heineke, who I like Taylor Heineke. I think Taylor Heineke would be one of the best backups in the league, but I just don't think he's a starting quality quarterback in this league that can help you, go far in this league. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens with Carson Wentz, of course. But for the most part, Terry McLaurin's a good receiver. But then you look at Deebo Samuel, man. When you just look at his value, it's just what he can do for you on special teams, as a running back, as a slot receiver, as an outside receiver. You can pretty much put him anywhere. And Deebo Samuel will add so much value to the team. He would impact the field like we've never seen anyone else do before in the field before. So it's unfair to him that all of a sudden he can't get the contract that he wants. And some people will let's be honest, some people will sit up here and say that, well, he's just he's kind of a whiner. He's begging for money that he just doesn't really deserve. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. Deebo Samuel, when you look at the amount of carries he had, he was actually top 5 in the National Football League, regardless of position in total and carries.
Mhm.
Like that is, again, this is, people think this is like high school sports or little league or, I'm telling you, man, when you're playing with grown men out there, guys that are 200 plus pounds, and you're getting hit at just crazy amount of speeds per hour. Dude, yeah, of course. If I'm Deebo Samuel, I would want that money.
Right.
Are you kidding me? I get that many touches and I'm barely even getting paid anything. And then by the time I do get to being 27, I get 28, 29 years of age. I'm not going to get the contract that I really want. My body's going to be jacked up. It's going to be messed up. And at that point, what am I playing for at this point? So I definitely feel Deebo Samuel's anger. I feel his frustration, and I honestly wish that he can be paid. Now, despite all that, he's showing up to camp. He's showing up to camp, and he's going to still work out with the team. Now, I don't know if he's going to potentially continue that, or if he's going to say, you know what, I'm just going to hope and pray that we can get this deal done before the fall season starts. But he could have took the Ezekiel Elliott high road, where he could have been in Cabo, Mexico, in the sand, chilling out in the beaches in the sand, waiting for him to get his money. He could have been like Devontae Adams, where he's threatening trade potentially, or again, AJ Brown is supposedly did not threaten trade. He could have been like a lot of other different players. LeVeon Bell didn't even play for about a year, and honestly, again, I can't blame him. I still don't blame LeVeon Bell for what he did. Yeah, his career is probably over now, but I don't blame him for what he did, because Le'Veon Bell, similar player to Deebo, as far as just the value and the roles that they kind of had to play in their respective offenses. He was number 1 in the league for like 3 years in a row as far as in total carries. And at the running back position, you are out at 27, 28 years of age. So I understood exactly where he was coming from. So, it's good for Terry McLaurin for him to get paid. It's going to help out the receiving market. Again, I hate the fact that the Jaguars paid Christian Kirk $18 million a year. He's a solid player, man, but he is not even a great slot receiver. He is. I won't even say top 10. Top 15, maybe top 20.
Yeah. It's really, think about it. Like when he was in Arizona, he was really second option, at times the third, especially last season, I'll say last season was his breakout, when DeAndre Hopkins was hurt, AJ Green was battling injuries as well. Zach Ertz was a great addition for them, but even in saying all this, he's never had over 1,000 yards receiving. He's never had more than 6 touchdowns in the season, and he's never had an 80 catch season as well, or I believe it's an 85 catch season. Regardless,
his yards per catch is also he's never even hit top 20 in the NFL as far as yards per catch. Right. So it's kind of like what am I getting for $18 million?
Right, 100%. And that's the thing. Like, very good, very solid. Underrated, you could argue, but that contract just changed. It was a game changer. It was a game changer. Even the fact that Zay Jones got the money he did, as what is he going to be, their third, fourth receiver? You know what I mean? They still got Chenault.
$30 million?
Right, exactly. So the Jags are going to jag, I guess, and but at the same time too, like you said with Deebo. That's why, I was such a big Le'Veon Bell fan. Still one of my easily, as a fan of football, one of my favorite running backs to watch, just because I've always been a fan of dual threat guys. And was always such a unique guy because he was such a power runner in college at Michigan State. And then to become such a, do-it-all, dual threat back, in the league. And yes, maybe he did lose in his situation in terms of sitting out and then going to the Jets, but at the same time too, how can you blame a guy who literally, was outside of, it was him, to me, it was him and Todd Gurley. Those two guys were head and shoulders above everybody else in the league in terms of running backs. And, at that point, to think that his last 3 out of his last 4 seasons in Pittsburgh, he was an all-pro. So how can we blame Le'Veon Bell for taking the stance that he did And so similarly to Debo Samuel, that's why I don't blame Debo. That's why I don't blame him for wanting to cut back on the carries, because he's trying to extend in. Not only is he trying to extend the length of his career so he can not get beat up so much, but also too, you got to factor in the money he'll be able to make. If he's healthier for longer, the more money he's able to make, the more he's able to cash out. So I personally, on a business level and a football level, I totally get it. Obviously it was great to be able to see him in a dual threat role, but at the same time too, to extend himself longevity wise, I really feel it's the best thing. So again, I'm pounding the table for him to get his money too, because he's so valuable to that team. Just imagine, I know everybody wants to talk about, oh, well, he wouldn't have that. He wouldn't be the player he is if he wasn't with the Niners. Maybe not. But the Niners offense would not be the same without Debo Samuel. I'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely, man. If I'm Debo Samuel, honestly, I would legit consider the LeVeon Bell option of just sitting out, because I feel like the running back position, you get way more carries compared to any other position in the National Football League. But for the second best is receiver. But again, running backs get double the amount of carries per year than a receiver does. Mm-hmm. And for receiver, for the most part, again, for the role that they're asking him to be, maybe sitting out for a year is honestly going to be a benefit for you, because you're not taking any punishment at all, and you can continue to try to recover your body. You can, as long as you're keeping in shape. That's really going to help. But again, for the most part, either change his role. If I'm Debo Samuel, either change my role as far as what I'm going to be doing on the football field, because again, special teams, lining up in the backfield and taking carries, lining up in the slot and out wide. I mean, you're asking me to do way too much to either limit my roles of what I can potentially do, or pay me, and maybe we can consider something happening. But as far as this happening at a high level for the next 4 to 5 years, I don't see it really happening. I mean, Cordell Patterson is pretty much very similar player, and it was interesting because I watched one of these kind of documentaries about why Cordell Patterson, why he kind of broke out and why he didn't get the role. Cordell Patterson was asking, listen, please put me at these running back, receiving, what you call it, roles. One of these coaches, like, if we put you in this role, Cordell, we know that if we switch your position to running back and we pretty much let you do whatever you can do at the outside and slot positions, we know you're going to be one of the best players in the National Football League, but you're going to be out the league in 5 years because your body's not going to be able to handle it. The best thing you can do for your career is to get better as a receiver, right? Yes. We all know you're going to be great at special teams, but the best thing you can do to stay in the league for the next 10 years is to be a legit receiver. Yeah. So that I found that extremely fascinating. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube for Cordell Patterson. It is extremely fascinating to watch, but he's right. I mean, if you look at what Cordell Patterson was able to do with the Falcons, I mean, what do? They pretty much put him in a Debo Samuel role. Even at the age of 30 or 31 years of age, he exploded, because coming out of Tennessee, that's the type of player he was. But again, he's been in the league for almost 10 years, almost 10 years, because they pretty much put him as a kind of a slot receiver. And he's not been a great slot receiver. He's not been even a good slot receiver, but he's been in the league almost for 10 years because of what else he can do on the field besides playing that position. And, unfortunately for Debo Samuel, I mean, if they keep giving him that role, he might be even out the league in 2-3 years. I mean, we see it every single year with players. I mean, their bodies sometimes just can't really keep up. And all of a sudden, Cam Newton, perfect example of a person that his body just can't even help. He can't even keep up anymore because of the amount of punishment that he's suffering. And arguably, you can make an argument he never got the contract that he deserved.
Yeah, it's so fair. Like, that's why I've always been such a big fan of Alvin Kamara, because I mean, in 2022, name a more a running back more suited to the game today, where he's a pass first receiving back, but he's dynamic enough in the running game that he could give you. See, that I've always loved, like, he's going to give you 6 for 50 to 60 every game just about in the receiving game, but he's also good for 12 to 15 carries for anywhere from 60 to 80 yards rushing. I've always thought that was such a special thing about him. So I definitely would love to see even if Debo is using a role like that, where it's like, hey, we're gearing back your touches running wise, but we still want to trickle it in, but say, hey, we're going to just try to aim for this amount of touches in like a general ballpark mark. and then go from there. Because like you said, like just doing this, feeding him the rock, passes, running the ball. It's you can only do it for so long. And even thinking about Cordero Patterson, like he kind of slowed down towards the end of the season. He was having a phenomenal year, all the way around. Had over 1,100 yards from scrimmage, 11 total touchdowns. I mean, the guy was balling, but at the same time too, like he was getting beat up towards the end of the season. They had less weapons to worry about. Ridley was out. Kyle Pitts was doing his thing, but like when he's your only other weapon, really, Russell Gage was nice too, but at the same time too, that those guys, they knew they were having to pass the ball, and the running game really wasn't a factor. So yeah, it's definitely intriguing to see how it'll be intriguing to see how it plays out with Debo's contract. But I think at the end of the day, if he really wants to, like you said, he really is the one that can really change the tenor of the situation. He can really, like you said, he could take the LeVeon Bell route. He could do, the TJ Watt route where he holds in, he gets there, is like, hey, I'm just going to withhold my services until I get my contract, whatever the case is. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways it can go for Deebo Samuel. It'll really be interesting to see how it'll play out as the summer progresses.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So like I said, I thought it was like 8:05 or like 8. It's like 8:21. So I think I guess we'll do right now is that we'll just answer some of your guys' questions, read some of your comments, and then we'll probably just kind of hop out of here and stuff like that because we have because our producer Justice has his show coming out at 9:00, and we want to try to give him as much time to prepare as much as possible. So we had a lot of activity in the chat. So Frightening Truth, he's been extremely active, man. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Brock, Row Tide, brother. Brock wants to. I know Brock. I know he wants to quickly talk about the Tony Mitchell commitment. So I guess I'll kind of get on with that. So Tony Mitchell is for those who don't know, 5-star recruit. From Alabama, one of the best cornerback prospects in college football. A top prospect that Nick Saban in Alabama has wanted for the last couple years now, coming out of Thompson and Alabaster. So yeah, we were able to grab him, snag him up, and I don't know if he's going to play as an outside corner or I think they're going to move him to safety. But that was an absolute kind of a great get there. So we appreciate. So again, great get, and I'm honestly excited to kind of get him there. Again, for the most part, Friday Truth was talking about Texas. I know he's talking about refreshing those recruiting pages. Like I said, man, I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, man. Arch Manning, getting him is huge because all of a sudden you're getting all of these recruits. These just coming out the woodworks. I mean, they got. I think four. Friday and Truth, you can let me know in the comments, but they got 4 or 5 dudes ever since Arch. So they've been on it. They've been on it. Steve Sarkisian has, in that coaching staff, they've done an incredible job so far in getting elite talent, getting elite players, and that's what you need. Last year, Texas did a great job recruiting the offensive line. They definitely needed it. This year, it seems like they're focusing on all the other different skill position players because next year, Texas could be loaded in the NFL draft as far as getting a ton of skill position players. So, shout out to them. Absolutely. Nabil, Buffalo FamBase regular on the Gen Sports YouTube channel, showing some Bills love. Again, we appreciate we appreciate everything that you're doing for us, man. Definitely appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much for stopping by the chat. And Crimson Brave, man, stopping by the channel, man. What's up, Crimson Brave, man? Absolutely. What's he asking? So he said, Jan Sports, what's your starting receiving line for Bama? Okay, so for my starting lineup, I would have Ja'Cory Brooks on the outside. I would have JoJo Earl, either JoJo or Earl, or I'll say JoJo Earl because I like JoJo Earl a lot. I think he's actually improved his game. And then as far as my outside receiver, I would probably put Jermaine Burton. If I had to reverse it, I would probably put Jermaine Burton in the slot, Ja'Cory Brooks out wide, and maybe Tyler Harrell. Because Tyler Harrell, a lot of people consider him to be a slot receiver, but he's actually a very good outside receiver coming from Louisville. So that's kind of what I would have for mine. So let's see what Friday Truth says. He says, wait, 9, I don't know, 8, 9, including Williams. Potentially. Yeah, you definitely have something on that and stuff like that. But Kyrie, man, any final thoughts you want to kind of have since, during our time here?
Yeah, for sure. I just first and foremost want to, shout out to the Pagula family, sending thoughts and prayers to them. Very positive to hear that Mrs. Pagula is doing well. You know, she was a great lady to be able to work for, and you know, every interaction I had with her was very positive. So, you know, I'm just, you know, hoping and prayer for them. And I know Bills Mafia was a little worried today with some of the rumors and things of that going around. And I even had some people texting me, asking me about the situation. So, but again, yeah, definitely just thoughts and prayers to the Pagulas and speedy recovery for Miss Kim.
Absolutely, man. And for those who don't know who Kim Pagula is, she's one of the owners for the Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres, and she's been huge in this community, very, very huge in this community. So definitely wishing a speedy recovery for her. I'm glad that she's doing well, and we'll hope that she continues to do well. So you know, again, just thoughts and prayers will go out to the entire Pagula family there as well. So I guess 8:26. I guess I think that would be it for us. We thank everyone so much for stopping by. Again, we apologize for you know, the late streaming. Again, that's pretty much on me. But for the most part, guys, check us out on Tuesdays, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you're coming from the Jan Sports channel, we appreciate all the love and support that you guys have given us. Because again, we couldn't do this without you. And again, we actually had a pretty good day streaming. So again, we definitely really appreciate you guys. And I'm actually kind of disappointed because I felt like we could have had a lot more people come by, but it is what it is. Well, again, mistakes happen, and we'll definitely get back, you know, stronger than ever going in on Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. But also too, make sure again to subscribe, hit the like button, because it definitely helps out the YouTube algorithm. Sometimes can mess up, so it definitely helps out a lot, and not just us, but other content creators for Buffalo FamBase Sports as well. Again, we got Justice coming up at 9 o'clock, so make sure to also stick by him, and because again, he's a phenomenal, you know, not just as a great producer, but he's a great content creator as well. And again, other guys as well. So yeah, we want to thank everyone for stopping by. Tommy, Frightening Truth, Crimson Brave, Nabil. A lot of you guys know you guys are. Brock, shout out to Brock there as well for coming by the Jan Sports channel. We appreciate you guys that much. But anyway, guys, we're gonna hop out of here. This is Jan Sports, aka Jan716, or Jared Cause want to call me there, with my co-host Kari Demos, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
You are now tuned in to the newest Bills Mafia production, FamBase Sports. Join Jarek Hall and Kari Demos as they take you around the world of sports, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on the official network of the original Bills Mafia.